Okay, I'm now living in Florida, and in a small mobile home in Riviera Beach. Then I got a job in a small local newspaper typesetting, and that was pretty good. It wasn't bad, not great money, but still it wasn't bad. And I also asked the editor, the owner of the newspaper, if I could review movies for them. And he said yeah, so I did. I reviewed movies and also did typesetting. And the movies, he paid, what, 11 cents a word, I think it was, not very much. And also, if I had my ticket stub, he paid for me going to the movies. So I stayed at that job for maybe 6 months or something. Then I found another job as a typesetter, again nearby, and it was for they put out newsletters for banking publications. Yeah, that's what it was. It was for banking publications, and I kind of enjoyed that. And I also wrote. I've been writing. I started my my first novel, which I called Death with Dignity. Dignity in this book was a organization of gay Catholics, you know, and then a murder was committed, and my PI solves the murder. But I also was writing a couple of op-ed pages for the local newspaper, the Palm Beach Post. One of them I wrote was Church, which was published, Church Playing Semantics with Issues of Gay Catholics. And when I knew they were going to publish it, I told the people at work where I was working typesetting. I hadn't come out as gay there yet, but I told them about this and when it was, and when it came out, they read it, and I was then out in my job, which was no problem, and I didn't expect it to be. So, but then I also, at that time, was after this was published, I got a call from a local radio station. They had a program on every morning, you know, an interview program about various views and that people had. So they asked me to be on the show for an hour talking about my article that was published in the Post, Church Playing Semantics with Issues of Gay Catholics. So I said yes, and my parents lived in Florida too, so I told them that I was going to be on the radio. My dad volunteered to tape that for me, when I was going to be on for an hour, the interview with Lee Fowler was the guy who hosted the show. So I went on there, and I told them at work that I would be on there, so I had to because I had to get off from work a little early in the middle of the day. So that was no problem either. So I was on the radio for an hour, and there was call-ins from people also not agreeing with me and agreeing with me. So it became a lot of back and forth, give and take, and it was. I thought it was pretty successful. So then when I came back to work, all the guys listened to it. They were telling me, not the guys, and the gals too, both guys and gals listened to it, and we talked about it a little more. So that I was happy with. And my father gave me the tape, which I still have, of the 1 hour interview I did on the radio. I also, you know, continued writing on my latest novel, and then I also had another article published in the Palm Beach Post. It was titled "Label of Leper as Gays Seeking Refuge Again." You know, it was AIDS was a serious issue back then, and there really was talk of sending gays to a kind of a gay prison, you know, in a different part of the country where they could live. You know, that was a crazy time, but that never came to fruition. But that's what I wrote about, you know, which was also true. Many gays were afraid to come out now anymore because they will be labeled as lepers of having this AIDS disease. You know, eventually that passed away. It was never any big deal anymore after that. You know, nobody was going to lock them up. But I also wrote another article, again in the Post. They published it. AIDS testing is wrong. What's next? Concentration camp for victims, and which essentially that's what I talked about in the other article. So I had quite a few articles published in that newspaper, and also had some published at that time. Well, first of all, I should say, not first of all, anyway, I didn't watch too much TV during that time because I was working at a job, you know, and then when I came home, I'd have supper, and then I'd write. You know, I was writing my novel, my first novel, and then writing these op-ed pieces, and I was also writing other articles that were published in the gay newspaper that was published from Miami. What was it called again? The the Weekly News, Gay Weekly News or something like that. And I had articles published on, well, one of them I had which wasn't about the church or anything. It was called, it was a personal article, Just Call Me Unhooked on Dope, about how when I came to Florida I gave up all dope, all marijuana, and well, I did some, that was about it. That's the only thing I had thought of starting and smoking again when I came to Florida, but then I realized, no, I don't want to go through all that crap again. So I wrote this article about unhooked on dope. You know, I just didn't do dope anymore. I said I just stopped. I mean, that was the way I did. I wouldn't, you know, physically had a problem with stopping, you know. And another one article I had in that gay newspaper was The Child That Time Forgot, a guest commentary, about the Catholic Church wanting to know, well, here it says what I wrote. Essentially, the church says that it's all right to be gay, just don't screw around, you know. We could belong to the church as long as we were celibate. So I didn't go to church there. I joined a gay group of Catholics, Dignity, it was called. There wasn't a large group, but it was in my area, and there were maybe about 5, less than 10 people. I wrote a lot. I was writing all the time. That's the point I'm trying to make right now. So I was writing and working, and basically that's about it. But I was, again, I finished my novel, which I called Death with Dignity, about murder in a gay organization. And then I tried to get it published, send it out to all these publishers, mostly in New York City, and just got no response at all. You know, I always send a self-addressed stamped envelope saying, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. Then I started sending to local, not local, but small gay publishers around the country. I mean, that was, gay was really at the height of his, I mean, a lot of people were coming out now and starting gay publishing houses too. And so I sent it to them, and finally one did answer in Texas. What was it? Banned Books, they called it, in Austin, Texas. And he accepted my book, and he published it, Death with Dignity. It was my first published novel. And it's did not sell well, not surprising. And the one who published it went out of business within a year, so I never even made any money on it, but at least I had gotten published, and that was important to me. So that was the start of my writing novels. And that's about it right now. Let's see, anything else I wanted to talk about here? No, not really. Well, my first job that I had at that local newspaper was, I also had bought a motorcycle. Did I tell you that? Yeah, I bought a motorcycle. And one day I drove it up to a Walmart or something like that, and tried to, as I was driving up, and it wasn't Walmart, it was another store, which is quite a ways away from me. So I pulled up there, and a guy ran over to me. He worked for the store, and he said someone just stole some stuff from the store. Could you give me a hand? And I was on my bike, and I had just gotten the bike. I had never ridden the bike with anybody behind me, but I told him to hop on, and we saw the guy running across the field, and I was going along with that guy behind me, and you know, it was quite a chase that we had. The guy kept zigging and zagging, and I couldn't stop to let the guy off. Of course, the other guy would keep going, and my guy that I was riding with me wanted to catch him. So the guy who stole the stuff, he got rid of it, and he ran into a place where there were a lot of houses, and so we drove into there, and he walked around looking for the guy, and I rode around, and I found him hiding under a car. He was laying down there, and I called the security guard back, and he got him, and he took him to jail. I didn't do that. So that was kind of fun. But anyway, after I did that, when I was working, I told my boss about it, so he decided to write an article, and I was pictured on the front page of our local newspaper with me and my motorcycle. So that was kind of exciting time for me. I think I'm messing it up with trying to tell you a lot of things that I misinterpret. But anyway, that's the gist of it. Hold on a second. No, never mind. Okay, I'll tell you about what I was just going to do now. I'll show you something, but I'll do that in the next installment, the next episode. So until then, see you later.